Good morning and welcome to Rosebread Homestead. It is a beautiful Saturday in October. I have on my baggy Saturday shirt. I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get going here. We have done 2, maybe 3 videos on off-grid cooking, but I am becoming very serious about what it takes to really have everything that we need in place for off-grid cooking if we had to do it for a long term. So what are the best cooking pots to have ready to go in case the grid goes down, we don't have access to things that we used to have access to. So what do we need to have on hand in order to be successful in food preparation? That's what this video is about. It is going to be an introduction to what I think are the very best pots for cooking off-grid long-term. And this goes directly to emergency preparedness, and it also supports food security. So we will get started on that in just a moment. My vote for the best pots is cast iron. And over the years, I have collected quite a few. And so Jim is going to pan across what we have. We certainly don't have a full array. There are some things that we are yet missing. But I have collected these over probably 40 to 50 years. I will buy one piece and then another piece. And it's not that they're very expensive, but I just have bought them as I want to start using them. The first thing I want to start with is why cast iron cookware is so good. First of all, it can develop a non-stick surface if we treat it correctly. And the beauty about this non-stick surface is that it is chemical free, which is not like other non-stick surfaces that are made with chemicals. This is made by how we season these pans. They are very long life. They are durable. They last a lifetime. They're very heavy duty. Just don't ever drop one on your toe or smash your thumb with one. I lost a thumbnail once by setting a pan down on my thumb. So they're very heavy duty. Another advantage that they have is that they add a little bit of iron to our food when we cook our food. Not a whole lot, just a little tiny bit. And most of us are iron deficient anyway, so that can be a good thing. Once they get seasoned and are cooking properly, they're very easy to clean. Most of the time, we can just wipe them out with paper towels. If we are in an off-grid situation, we may not have access to paper towels, so you can wipe them out with leaves. I've done that before camping. Just get a handful of leaves and wipe them out, and they are perfectly good. And then, once these get warm or hot, they maintain the heat. And you have to adjust a little bit to different aspects of cooking with cast iron. So let's get started and look into these. First of all, this is a little set that I have probably had for a couple of years. We did one video with this one. And so this is kind of a saucepan, and its lid doubles as a frying pan. And I used this, I've seasoned it, so my hand is now very oily. We're going to do another video on how to refinish and reseason because several of mine actually need that. But this one, I put this over the top of a rocket stove and cooked breakfast on the top of it. So that's what we use this for. And this is a great one to have as just kind of a saucepan, a large saucepan, and it can be used with this lid. And this one is, the brand is Cuisenel, Cuisenel. I'm unfamiliar with that brand, but this was great, and it came with these 2 silicone handles. that fit right over these handles, so this makes it really nice. One of the downside is that every part of these cast iron pans gets really hot, so you never grab one with your open hand. Always have either a pot holder or one of these silicone things. But I did learn something: don't put these in the oven when you are cooking at high heat in this pot. So I'm going to set this one aside, and we're going to talk about frying pans. And these are probably my oldest cast iron pans, and I love to do fried chicken in cast iron pans. Nothing cooks fried chicken like a cast iron pan. Now, as you might be able to see if the light is just right, an attempt at seasoning this one left a bigger mess. The oil got burned on there, and so this is one that I'm going to refinish and reseason, and while I'm at it, I'm going to do this one as well. These are very old, and I want these to be just as smooth and ready to go out for our emergency preparedness. This is a 10-inch pan, this is a 12-inch pan. And I do have a little tiny one. I looked all over for it. I have no idea where I put it, but I just know that I put it in a very safe place. I don't know if you ever do that, but I do. These are, this line right here, are Dutch ovens. Now, these two I use in my oven in the house to make my artisan bread. And my artisan bread is rounded. It's a bowl, B-O-U-L-E. And we have several videos on artisan bread, and you will see me using these pots. It took me about a year to get these seasoned to where the bread would not stick anymore. And they don't look all that great on the inside, but I'll tell you, I'm not going to do anything to these because they're working just great. I've had to reseason these probably 15 or 20 times. These are probably my two most used because I've used them several hundred times in baking bread in my oven. And they would also be able to be used for off-grid cooking in other ways. If the grid goes down, I'm not going to have access to my beautiful kitchen oven. And so how we're going to cook using these, what heat source we're going to use, is something that we also need to plan for in advance. Now, the great thing about all these, including the pans that I've already put aside, is that you can use them on propane stoves, you can use them over a campfire, and you can use them with charcoal. And I'm going to show you a few little things about that in just a few minutes. So the problem with these is that they don't have the legs like the next batch that we're going to look at. And so if you're going to be using those over a campfire, there's really not an easy way to use these on a tripod. You probably have seen tripods set up over campfires, and that is this line over here that we're going to talk about in a second. So with these that have no legs and no wire handle to come up over the top, you would need to do it over a fire and with some kind of a grid. This one is not appropriate for going over a fire. This is just represents, I would have to get one that is more campfire safe, but then you would have to put that like that over the top of a grid so that it wouldn't be right down in the fire. Okay, I'm going to set these aside. This little one is fairly new, and I wanted to see if I could bake my artisan bread in a grid down situation. And so using my rocket stove, and we have a video on this, using my rocket stove, and I have a Coleman camp oven that I have covered with a welding cloth to keep the heat inside. I was able to get the heat inside that little oven up to 400 degrees, and I was able to successfully make a half-life bowl of bread that fit just really nicely inside here. I've done that once. I'm not sure I will ever do it again. It was a lot of trouble, and I think in a grid down situation, I will be wanting to act more efficiently. But this also is a nice pot for smaller sized food dishes that you might want to do. Brings us to this stack right here. And these are probably the most critical ones. Two of these are new. This one is brand new. The tag is still attached. This one is new. I have not yet used it. This one is old. I've used it probably dozens of times. They're heavy. So let me see if I can lift this off. You can tell that this one is worn. And here's the inside. So this is definitely one that I'm going to refinish and then re-season. It looks like I've had something liquid in here. You don't ever want to boil water in these. That's not a good thing to do. You don't want to put high acid things in these like, oh, tomato soup or something like that, because it will take the seasoning off. And by seasoning, I'll talk you through how we season. Well, I'll just tell you right now. So the way we season these is that we just give this a coat of vegetable oil and put it in the oven, low oven, about 200 degrees for about an hour. And the oil then soaks right into the iron and forms that non-stick coating. So this is very much in need of that. So we'll do a video on how to do that and how to completely refinish one that is in this bad of shape. Now, these are true Dutch ovens. It has legs. All of these have legs. This is a 12-inch shallow. This is a 12-inch tall. And I'll show you what the difference is and why I wanted to get this one and this one in just a moment. But with this Dutch oven, the legs are especially so that you can use it with charcoal. So the way that you would use it with charcoal is, great thing is this little gadget right here. And this is especially made for quick heating of charcoal. And so I've placed some briquettes right here. And so what you would do to get ready is you would put these in here, as many as you need. And there is a table in a lot of different places. This came in the little booklet that came with our new 16-inch. And it gives a little table right in the front, and you can also access this table all over the internet. And so they have worked it out so that if you want a 350 oven and you have a 12-inch, then you need a total of 21 briquettes. You will put 14 on the top and 7 on the bottom. And so there is that kind of a relationship with a 16-inch as well. With a 16-inch at 350, you need 39 briquettes. You'll need 26 on the top and 13 on the bottom. And then it gives you the amounts for if you want a 350 oven, a 375, 400, 425, and 450. So the thing that we need to remember is if we are going to be using these for being off-grid long-term, we would also have to either store briquettes or have access to enough firewood that we could use coals or make our own briquettes. There are ways to do that as well. But this is a quick start, and so you would pile up however many briquettes you need for the first round in here, and you put a newspaper or other combustible material down here and start this on fire. Then it lights the rest of the charcoal and gets that going. So you can see that there's a rack in the bottom that is shaped like an inverted cone, little volcano. So it allows more surface area of the briquettes to get lit easier. And so then with some long-handled tongs, you would reach in here and pull out the number that you would need to put on the top and the number that would go on the bottom, and you put them in a little circle, and then you would put, the reason that more go on the top is that you want to avoid burning. And so you put a little design like that on the bottom, put the oven over the top, and then however many that were called for here, you would put them in, so more heat is coming in from the top and then less from the bottom so that you don't burn things, and it creates an oven. And so then in here you can bake. You can also cook things like casseroles or whatever. Now, my question is, would you need, if you are going to do something like bread, for instance, do you just put the bread loose in there, or do you put it in a pan? Well, I would want to put it in a pan. And so that raised the issue to me, is this old one that I've had for years and years, probably 40 years, is it tall enough for my bread? And I wasn't sure about that. Would my bread pan even fit? So one of the other tools besides that little chimney that you need for, and you don't have to have that chimney, you can alter a number 10 can. I've done that before too, to heat up the charcoal, or you can just build it into a mound and do the same thing, just open air. But a hot pad is awkward to this. And so they make several different styles of these little lifters. So you can just get right under here and lift this lid off. And then if you've balanced your charcoal right, it balances. And then you can set the lid aside and get in there. So I wanted to see if my bread pans would fit in there. And so I bought some smaller bread pans. My recipe that makes 2 loaves of this size would make 3 loaves in this size. So does this fit? Yes, it does, but it only gives this much space for the bread to rise. It's not tall enough. That's why I got this one. I want a tall one so that I can bake bread. And my smaller pan might be able to work for bread if I needed it, because there's more rising room here in this one. This one does fit my larger size bread pan, just barely. And you can see inside that the bread has plenty of space to be able to rise. Now, how would I get that out? With my safety gloves and get it out this way. These safety gloves are what I use with my artisan bread, and they're good for up to 500 degrees, so this is just fine. Now, another way that you can lift things out of a pot like this is to make a little sling. And this is just a piece of tin foil that has been folded triple or quadruple. And then you can reach in also with gloved hands, and if you balance it right, you can just lift it out right like that. So that works as well. Here's this big boy, this 16-inch. It just came like 2 days ago. So I'm so excited for it. Now these come pre-seasoned. Sometimes pre-seasoned works and sometimes it doesn't, so I don't know about this. This one it's shallow, so I would mostly be baking bread in this tall 12-inch. But there are plenty of things else that I want to do if the grid is down long term and I don't have access to my kitchen oven and our propane has run out, and so I can't use my cute little propane oven. And my sun oven isn't quite the right thing. So having redundancies is really a good idea. I want a pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving. And so a pumpkin pie does not fit in here, but it would fit right here perfectly. I can bake a pie in this one, which would be fabulous. I can also bake a cake. I'm going to be putting some cake mixes in our food storage. So when we get hungry for a little cake, I'm going to have cake mixes in different flavors, and I can bake a cake either that size or this size. And then also, I have a 9x9 pan. It's very heavy duty. I love this pan. I have 2 of them. And this, we make a breakfast bake that is fantastic. And I want to be able to do that. So it doesn't fit in the 12-inch, but it certainly does fit right here. So that makes it so nice to be able to have this way of baking. Now, the downside is you have to store the fuel, or you have to have fuel available. So in our storage, we have several great big bags of briquettes. But we also live on the edge of the wilderness, and so we can just go out and there's plenty of wood out there and scrap that we can pull off of old dead rabbit brush or sage or a whole lot of things, and we could make a fire if necessary and also do it that way. So these are very, very versatile. Now, here is another versatile little tool, and this also just came with our 16-inch. And this is the cutest little thing. I just saw this on Amazon and thought, wow, this is just perfect. And so if we're outside cooking, you can use it either way, this up or this way. And I have a very, very hot lid that has coals on the top, but I also don't want to put it on the ground. That's a lid holder. And I can just put the hot lid right there while I mess with my food. That it turns a legless Dutch oven. And the picture says to do it this way, if you're going to do this, is to put your bottom coals here, and then you can put the Dutch oven on the top, and it's the same as having legs like this one. I don't know if I would use it that way or flip it the other way. I don't think that it would matter. So there we have just a quick overview of what I think are the best pots for off-grid cooking. Now, we're not going to leave you with just this overview because there is so much more to off-grid cooking with cast iron. And so going forward, we are going to be doing some videos showing you various things that we cook, so we can model for you how we do it, and then you can make any adjustments that I'm sure some of you are very skilled, and a lot of people are very particular about the way they deal with cast iron, and I have learned that. So we're just going to share our way with you, and then you can adjust that to however you think is the best way. So we're going to be doing some videos on cooking off-grid using this cast iron. If you don't have a lot of pieces right now, and you want to start building up a supply of cast iron, what should you start with? My recommendation would be a frying pan, because frying pans also, these frying pans do work on my induction cooktop. Starting with a frying pan is really a good idea. And then the next thing you might want to do is some kind of a Dutch oven like this, either with or without legs, that it's harder to use with legs in your own oven because it sometimes interferes with your oven racks. But one without legs is a good start so that you can get used to cooking with it in your regular oven. And then move to one with legs, or get a little stand like this that you can then practice. Notice that the ones that you put charcoal on the top have this lip around the edge and are much less domed than those that are not made to work with charcoal on the top. There are lots of options out there, lots of brand names. Lodge is really a good brand name. Our brand new 16-inch is a Camp Chef. It's good. Amazon has its own brand, so there are lots of really good brands. So this is our introduction to off-grid cooking pots, and we will proceed from here with future videos. So we will see you next time.